So here we are in the Canto 3, Chapter 9 for the overview. So, we are currently the Sarga section still. A little bit of Visarga coming later in Chapter 12, but we have been going through Sarga and gradually into the Visarga sections. So here, the first 4 chapters of the Canto 3, where Vidura actually meets Uddhava, because Shukadeva Goswami is explaining the background story for why Vidura and Maitreya met with each other. So before meeting Maitreya, Vidura actually met Uddhava in the course of his pilgrimage after going through Prabhasa Kshetra, where Krishna and other Yadus disappeared. So he asks very sensitively to Uddhava various questions and finds out about Krishna's and the Yadu's disappearance. And then Uddhava speaks about Krishna, and when Vidura requests Uddhava to speak about the instructions that Krishna gave to him before departing this world, then Uddhava sends him to meet Maitreya for multiple reasons. One, he is experiencing separation from Krishna, so he wants to go to Badrikashram to fulfill that instruction given by Krishna and experience some union with Krishna by executing the instructions of Krishna. And also, Vidura is an elder to Uddhava. So he's thinking as a Maryada, as an aspect of respect, etiquette, he feels he should go to Maitreya to inquire who is elder to Vidura. So in this way, Vidura ends up meeting Maitreya. So after he goes and approaches, Vidura requests or asks various questions to Maitreya. Specifically, he asks about creation of the universe to start with. So Maitreya Rishi, being very pleased with Vidura, who is also the son of his very close friend Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva and Maitreya Rishi are very close friends, and Vidura, being a son of Vyasadeva in some aspects, becomes very pleased to share this knowledge that he has, that he heard from Krishna and his spiritual masters with Vidura. And he in chapter 5 he explains the primary creation, and he speaks about secondary creation, especially the development of Virat Rupa in the chapter 6. In the chapter 7, predominantly Vidura inquired as a side topic about some questions that he had about the tattva of Ishvara and Jiva, based on what Maitreya had so far explained. And then after that, in chapter 8, Maitreya continued his narration from chapter 6 of manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So last week we saw how from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's navel the lotus came, and then Brahmaji was either it was the first time birth, then he is born. If it is a night and he is waking up, he wakes up, and then he prays because he cannot understand what to do. So he performs penances, and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu reveals himself to him. And after that, after now having the vision of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he is praying for the ability to do his service of creating this universe as a secondary creator. So in this particular chapter 9, we are going to see how Brahmaji is offering prayers for creative impetus and what are the replies by the Supreme Lord to Brahma. So this is the subject matter of this particular chapter. Generally, we think of prayers, we can feel little dry, but if you just put ourselves in Brahma's position, in the sense, at least try to understand how he's actually feeling so humble in spite of being Lord Brahma, and what are the various things he is expressing. So it's really, really deep. His prayers are, and very inspiring also. So whatever is my ability to present them, I'll try. So as described so far, Maitreya Rishi is going to describe to Vidura in this chapter 9 the prayers offered by Brahma and the reply the Lord gave to Brahma after hearing his prayers. So the just out the outside of the chapter itself, the prayers begin from right from the first verse. The prayers are beginning. So we're just getting into it straight away. So the first five verses, for the sake of presenting and understanding easier, we have divided each prayers into certain sections. However, depending on different commentaries, we can divide it in various ways. But I have kind of kept it to Prabhupada's books and other books that I'm referring. So just pretty much to Prabhupada's books, and based on that, I have divided. I haven't gone into Vishnu Chakravarti's commentary, though I have some points from there. So the first five verses of Brahma's prayers will speak about the supremacy of Lord's personal form. Because if Brahmaji has now finally had this rare opportunity to have the darshan of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, so that's really mind blowing for us to see. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is really huge. He fills half of the universe with his perspiration, and then he lies down on a huge snake bed. And he was invisible earlier, but now suddenly he has become visible to Brahma's eyes. So we can see clearly his proportion is very huge, and his transcendental beauty is also is amazing to Brahma. So after seeing that, first of all, he is going to pray about the supremacy of the Lord's personal form, because earlier everything was dark, and now suddenly he is personal form of the that is the first prayer he is going to offer, the supremacy of Lord's personal form in the first five verses. So in the verse 1, Brahmaji is praying how the supreme object of knowledge is the knowing the supreme Lord. So there may be so many objects of knowledge in this world, but the most supreme object is knowing the supreme Lord. And first of all, and this verse has a lot of details. After years of penance, hundreds some years of penance, Brahmaji is finally able to look at the Supreme Lord, the or Garbhodaksha Vishnu, by his mercy. When Garbhodaksha Vishnu wanted to reveal, only by his mercy Brahmaji could see. So our endeavor in terms of Brahmaji's penance and then Krishna's mercy. So both has to come together for us to have this darshan. So that is one point that he makes here right away in the beginning of the prayers, that after years of penance, but by your mercy, I'm able to see you. And he immediately sees, after he experiences Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he understands, oh, how unfortunate are the people, the conditioned souls, who are atheistic, who are non-devotees. So he's saying people who do not know you are very unfortunate, because now he is realizing how great it is to come in touch with the Supreme Lord, how happy it is. So he's feeling compassion towards those who are averse to the Supreme Lord. And he's also explaining how Garbhodaksha Vishnu may say, oh, there are so many things to know in this world, so why you bother about people knowing only about me to be very fortunate? He says, no, there may be so many other things, but they're all temporary. You are the supreme object of knowledge, and all those objects of enjoyment in this world, they are all impure. So only by knowing you, they will be actually benefited. So in the next verse, he glorifies the eternal form, because the difference of the form of the Supreme Lord is Brahmaji also has got a form, and Garbhodaksha Vishnu also has a form. They both are in one sense not same, because Brahmaji's form is not eternal, but Garbhodaksha Vishnu's form is eternal. So that's why he says, I also have a body, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, but my body is material. But your body is manifested by internal potency, and it's always free from all kinds of material contamination. And only for the sake of the devotees you reveal yourself. For benefiting the devotees, you reveal yourself. You are the origin, and hundreds of incarnations come from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Brahmaji comes from him, Lord Shiva appears, and Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, all of them appear later. And these are the three Guna avatars. And then from Garbhodaksha Vishnu appears Kshirodaksha Vishnu. And generally, various incarnations come from Kshirodaksha Vishnu into the universe. So, in that way, Garbhodaksha Vishnu becomes the source of so many incarnations. This is explains in the verse 2, and in the verse 3, Brahmaji says how the personal form of the Supreme Lord is better or higher than the impersonal form of the Lord. Brahmaji says how the impersonal Brahman effulgence is without changes, and it's as there is no deterioration of potency, but still I surrender to your personal form, not just to the impersonal form. I surrender to your personal form because this personal form includes Brahman. If I surrender to Brahman, it is not necessary that I will be surrendering unto you directly. In one sense, it's an indirect. But when I surrender to you, I am implicitly surrendering to Brahman also. I accept Brahman also because it is part of you. So you have Brahman, everything included in you. So I better surrender unto you. And also, when I meditated, it is not Brahman which manifested in the sense of giving me mercy. It is you who have personally now revealed your personal form. So in Brahman, even if I surrender myself to the process of knowing Brahman and to Brahman, there is no reciprocation. But you, the most merciful Lord, if I surrender unto you, you are reciprocal. So that is the advantage of surrendering to the personal form of the Lord over surrendering to the form of the Lord. That the personal form of the Lord is reciprocal. We can have an active personal relationship with the Supreme Lord in his personal form rather than his impersonal form. And then Brahmaji glorifies the form of the Supreme Lord as the most auspicious form because there are so many forms created in this universe, but Sri Krishna's forms creates auspiciousness and they are specifically manifested for benefiting the devotees. But people who are destined to help, people who are non-devotees, those who don't accept the person form of the Lord, they are actually neglecting their own interests. So Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita also. And after proving or after stating that the personal form is better than the impersonal form, and now actually chastising those who don't accept the form of the Supreme Lord are very atheistic in the verse 4. Now he is glorifying what is the advantage of surrendering to the personal form of the Supreme Lord. So, because the Supreme Lord actually enters the hearts of the devotees and dwells in the hearts of the devotees, so that he is saying, Etuttvadiya charanam bhujakoshagandham jigranti karna vivarai shrutivakanitam bhaktya vihita charana parayachate नापैषिनाथ हृदयां गुरुहात् स्वपुंसाम्. So, ye tu tvadiya charanam bhujakoshagandham. So, those devotees who actually take shelter of the Supreme Lord and actually experience the fragrance of his lotus feet through ears. So generally we hear through ears, but here Brahmaji is saying those who smell through ears. What do they smell? They smell the lotus feet of the Lord through the ears by hearing the Vedic sounds in their heart when they are done purely. When these activities of hearing is done purely, the Supreme Lord manifests in the hearts of the devotees. So here we are smelling through the ears. What are we smelling? We are smelling the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord through the ears by hearing the Vedic sounds. So that is the opportunity that Srimad Bhagavatam is giving to us. So for us to smell the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So by smelling the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, by taking in that fragrance through the Vedic sounds, our hearts could be purified and the Supreme Lord can be manifested and we can experience Him in our hearts. So this is the advantage of devotees who personally take shelter of the Supreme Lord in His personal form by hearing about His pastimes. So now those who don't do, what happens to them? So those who don't take either shelter of the Supreme Lord in their personal form, or they are outright atheist, or they are impersonalist, what happens to all of them? So that Brahmaji is going to explain in these next 5 verses, where he speaks about the predicament of the conditioned souls. So from verse 6 to 10. So at this point, if anybody has a comment or anything to share or any question, we can take short. Otherwise, I can continue.
The point smelling through ears is very nice.
Yeah, in this chapter, it's very interesting. I got like I can even, I don't know if I can write an article of that, but I surely can create a lecture out of it. There is hearing through, there is smelling through ears, and there is seeing through ears. Both these things are there. I know in other places in Bhagavatam there is, where there is like, yeah, there is other things like seeing through ears is there. Seeing through here, hearing through, drinking through ears is also there in Bhagavatam. You drink the nectar of Krishna's pastimes through the ear. So like this, there are so many, how one ear can manifest various, how it is compared in various ways. It's very interesting. I was also thinking about that.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I was reading something today. Dhruva Maharaj, when he saw Krishna or Vishnu, or he was drinking through eyes,
Through
So
eyes. He was drinking through
I
eyes.
was,
Yeah.
what is going on? I was thinking 5 minutes on that this morning. I was reading.
Now you're smelling through ears.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Yeah, anything could possible, Prabhuji. For that, senses are like God, Krishna himself. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So here, Brahmaji, thank you, Keshwaram Prabhu for the comments. So here, Brahmaji is going to continue praying about, praying to Garbhodaksha Vishnu, but in his prayers, he's out of his compassion, he is going to present the predicament of the conditioned souls. It's not that bashing or it's not just finding faults, rather he is compassionate, he's thinking, how can I help them? So in that way, he's going to put out the predicament of the conditioned souls. He says, because people misidentify with their bodies, what happens is it causes anxiety. Instead of hearing about the Supreme Lord, they engage in bodily activities that causes anxiety. So as long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, which is Angri Abhayam, which can actually, Angri is lotus feet, Abhayam is fearlessness. So instead of taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which can provide fearlessness, people actually, because of the aham mameti conception, I and mine, they take shelter of their own I and mind conception, then they are fully filled with anxieties for protecting various things, which they think is their I and mind. So if they are so much filled with anxiety, why don't they take to devotion, which is an easy path? But the thing is, they have lost their intelligence due to offenses. Unfortunately, people don't hear to take shelter of Krishna, or they have turned against the auspicious topics about the Supreme Lord, and they engage in inauspicious activities for temporary sense gratification. That is the first and foremost thing. Most people in this world engage in inauspicious activities for the sake of temporary sense gratification. In the course of that, their intelligence gets covered, and because their intelligence is covered, sometimes they end up even doing blasphemous things, turning against the auspicious topics of the Supreme Lord and becoming atheistic. So in this way they become unfortunate, and that is why even though they are filled with anxieties, they don't want to take shelter. Even in our own hearts we can see, even though we have become devotees, still some portion of our hearts, or in my case, I can say a lot of portion of my heart doesn't want to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, because I actually every now and then lose my intelligence because of my offenses. I actually don't have taste for the auspicious topics. I don't immerse myself in the auspicious topics of the Supreme Lord, and I engage in inauspicious activities for temporary sense gratification. So, because of this, even after coming to Krishna consciousness, I remain unfortunate. So that is why now Brahmaji in the next verse is saying, for us to understand how pitiable is our condition in this material world, not just ourselves, others, and not just others, even ourselves also. Our life in this material world is pitiable. It's not very comfortable. And who is saying this? Brahmaji, who is the creator of the universe, who is the secondary creator of the universe. He is saying this particular product that I'm going to make is not the comfortable product, actually makes the conditioned souls pitiable. And we think, oh, no problem, I'm happy. I can, even there may be little bit miseries, but still I'm happy. So many times we kind of convince ourselves to be happy or feel happy in this world. But here Brahmaji is saying, no, this place is a miserable place for the jiva. That is why I'm making. So he's feeling bad. that I'm making something which is going to make others miserable. But that is his service. So he says, Shutrit Tridathavirima Muhurardhyamana Sitoshnavatavarshaitare Kamadninachyutarasha Sudurvarena Sampashyato Manavaru Kramasidate me. So he's saying Manasidate me, my mind is completely distressed. Why? Looking at Sampashyato, completely looking, because he is able to see fully properly. We may not be able to see properly, but he is Sampashyato. He is Sampashyato what? The difficult situation of the living entities. The living entities are so miserable because they are constantly perplexed by so many things. What are they? Hunger, shut, thirst, thirst, tridhatu, kapha, pitta, vata, and then Sitoshna means blasting heat, severe cold, wind, rain, strong sex desire. Kama Agnina Achyuta Rusha. Krishna is called as Achyuta because he is infallible. But Kama Agnina Achyuta Rusha means the fire of lust in the heart of a conditioned soul is called as Achyuta Rusha. It is almost infallible. That Agni, that fire, the heat coming from the fire of lust is so unbearable. That is Achyuta Rusha. With all these things, indefatigable anger and other disturbing elements. So in this way, momentary and continuous. Like sometimes I become hungry, I eat something, I become free of that misery. I may feel like very thirsty, I drink water, I become free of that misery. But these are some things momentary tormentation. But okay, there is a very hot climate. Okay, after the season changes, I become comfortable. But cold comes, okay, that season also changes. There is rain, but not always. There is wind, heavy tornadoes, and all these other kind of natural disturbances, but they don't stay always. They come and go. But you may think, oh, this come and go. That's why Brahmaji says the strong sex desire, the aspect of trying to enjoy this world. That is continuous in one way or other. Even if it is not lust, it turns into anger. In some way or other, the mind becomes a disturbing element. So in this way, he is saying, from momentary to continuous tormentation, the jiva souls in this world undergo a very pitiable situation. This is the verdict of the creator of the universe, Brahmaji. But Garbhodaksha Vishnu can say, my dear Brahmaji, why do you actually lament for material existence? Because it's actually worthless. It's not permanent. It's anyway temporary. So why do you lament for the material existence of the conditioned souls? It's not like very worthy. So it's just a temporary thing. No, Brahmaji is saying no, it's not the case. He says the bodily identification produces a bondage which is in one sense eternal. As long as the bodily identification is not struck, it continues to be eternal. Gajendra also prays a very nice prayer in his offering to Lord Hari, where he says, "If you want me, if you want to know that what I am praying for, I am not just praying for release from the crocodile's mouth. I am praying for the eradication of ignorance because the time destroys everything. Time destroys everything in this world. All the big empires, all the wealth, everything is destroyed by the time except one's ignorance. Life after life, time does not destroy the ignorance of our hearts. It continues life after life without any disturbance. Rather, it keeps increasing. So Gajendra prays, please eradicate that thing which even time cannot destroy. Time destroys everything in this universe, but except the ignorance of the conditioned souls. So that is why here Brahmaji is saying, as long as that ignorance is continued through enjoying the senses and in this world through sense objects, then the bodily identification remains. And if the bodily identification remains, then the conditioned soul continues to suffer. So that is why he is saying This material existence is very miserable, not because it is permanent in a sense of eternal. Rather, as long as the living entity does not want to give up his ability, his enjoying tendency, it's going to continue. So that's why I'm feeling bad. And see, he says, by engaging the senses in sense gratificatory activities, the non-devotees don't get anything. They only get frustration because they engage the senses in the distressing work and then suffer the products of that anxiety due to sleepless nights and so many anxieties. And most times their plans get frustrated, even if all the plans that they have for their life goes as per their desire. Still, in the form of death, Krishna is going to take time is going to take away everything. So all their plans ultimately get frustrated. So material universe is like a program where however much you do in the last step, there is a multiplication by zero. So whatever may be your long calculation, and the last step is going to be multiplied by zero. So then your result is going to be zero. So similarly, anything we materially endeavor will be taken away from us by the force of time. So that is why Prabhupada always says, put a 1 before all these zeros by adding Krishna to our lives. So Brahmaji is saying the same thing, even if they are jnanis who are actually transcendentalists, they may not be non-devotees, still they continue in samsara if they are averse to the topics of Krishna. So this whole 5 verses is tied down to the previous 5 verses with this topic, with this idea that if a person is averse to hearing about Krishna, then this is the 5 verses which describes the predicament of that person in the material existence. So that the continuing link is eagerness to hear about Krishna, because the 5th verse spoke about smelling lotus feet of Krishna through hearing about his topics. So that is why Brahmaji is saying if somebody does not do it, whether he is a non-devotee or even a jnani, if he is averse to hearing about Krishna, then he suffers. So now after explaining about the disadvantage of not hearing about Krishna, Brahmaji goes on to explain how, what is the advantage of hearing about Krishna? What happens when someone hears about Krishna sincerely? So that is, the Supreme Lord in his personal form reciprocates with those devotees. So, and now Brahmaji is saying, I have a personal experience. I did penance. I meditated on you. I followed your instructions. And now you mercifully manifested before me. Similarly, you mercifully reside in the lotus-like hearts of devotees, in the hearts of those devotees which are infused by Bhakti Yoga. So they see you through the ears. So now he is speaking about seeing through ears. Earlier we saw smelling through ears. Now we are seeing through ears by hearing in the form they always particularly think of. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hृत्सरोजम् आस्ते sute kshitapato nanunata punsam यद्यद्यातौरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु pranayase sadanugrahaya. So here Brahmaji is saying, Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja. You manifest in the hearts, hrit saroja, paribhavita, those hearts which is filled with bhakti yoga. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja. So all we have to do is we have to fill our hearts with bhakti. Krishna will manifest. Aste shrute kshitapato nanunata punsam. So how do we fill our hearts with Krishna? By hearing about Krishna. So by when we see Krishna in our hearts through hearing about Krishna, then Krishna actually manifests. So in this way, Brahmaji glorifies the importance of hearing about Krishna. And then he says, the Lord may reciprocate with so many people. He may reciprocate with demigods by giving them what they want. They may not achieve full satisfaction. For non-devotees, he is not even available. But the second category, who is the devotees, they are pleased because they are merciful to others. So the Lord's reciprocation with demigods and the demons and the devotees, everything could be very different. Demigods also are devotees, but if anybody who has material desires could be come under that category. And he continues to glorify what is the Lord's reciprocation with his various devotees. That is, people who offer their results will become pure gradually, because other people may be endeavoring in terms of attached to Krishna for more in the form of offering their karma. Still, they get purified gradually by activities like Vedic rituals, charities, severe austerities, transcendental service performed with a view to worship the Lord. Everything, when it is offered to Krishna, Kshemam na vindhanti vinaya darpanam. Anything which is offered to Krishna, which is offerable to Krishna, when it is offered to Krishna, it never goes in vain. Kshemam na vindanti vinaya darpanam. So Shukadeva Goswami prays in the second canto like that, that anything Shuddhyanti yasmai Prabha Vishnave namaha. So he is the most purifying Supreme Lord. When anything is offered to him, it does not go in vain. So far we saw Brahmaji praying about the first 5 verses, glorifying the supreme form of the Lord and the importance of hearing about Krishna. And in the next 5 verses, he spoke the negative effects of not hearing about Krishna. And in the next 3 verses, he spoke about when devotees hear, how does the Lord reciprocate? So what are the non-devotees missing out on? So he said that 11 to 13. Now he's going to offer obeisances to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He's just offering obeisances because he is deeply grateful, humble, and he's saying, you are the Brahman who's realized by the intelligence for self-realization. You are worshipped by Jnanis as Brahman and by devotees as Bhagavan. So now he says, as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, you enjoy the rasaya, means the pastimes of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. So I offer my obeisances to you. So you are the source of Brahman. And then he says, anyone who chants the holy names of the Lord, whose incarnation, qualities, and activities are mysterious, because the activities of the Supreme Lord is Vidambanam as Brahman, Bhishma Deva or Kunti Devi or Uddhava praise in first, second, and third cantos. Like activities of Krishna or Vidambanam are bewildering and wonderful and mysterious. So even if unconsciously one person regularly chants and it they will remember that at the time of death also, then that person becomes free of all sins and attains Krishna. So that is the advantage of regularly training ourselves to chant the holy names. To chant the holy names, because by chanting the holy names, we are gradually invoking our ability to think about Krishna in the form of his name, form, pastimes, and qualities. And the more we do, even at the time of death, we will be able to remember. And by that, we will be able to purify ourselves and attain Krishna. So, and Brahmaji is also saying that how the whole cosmic universe, the whole universe is like uh, the whole cosmic manifestation, or at least this particular universal manifestation, is like, if you compare it like a tree, then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the root. So you are the prime root of the tree of the cosmic manifestation, Bhuvana Drumaya. So if you consider Bhuvana, if you consider the material manifestation, material universe, this particular universe where Brahmaji is praying, if you consider that as a tree, then the root of that tree is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And he says, and you expand, you maintain this whole universe. So in various ways, even as manifesting me, manifesting Lord Shiva, coming as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, in this way, you expand and maintain and destroy this universe. So you are the root of this universal existence. And he says, as long as the tendency for the foolish work remains in the hearts of the uh, people, conditioned souls, all their plans will be cut to pieces by powerful time. But although I am the leader of all these planets, Brahmaji is saying, even though I may be the creator of all these planets and the universal creator, and still I fear your time factor. I may have like a huge life. Brahmaji's life is unimaginable. The two Parardas, it is like It's like billions of years, 4.32 billions of years, and still he feels fearful of the time factor. So, and in that way, when he says there are various transcendent forms of yours, you appear in various species, not just in the human forms, you appear in animals and in the demigods to perform various transcendental pastimes and to fulfill the obligations of uh, keeping up the principles of this universe and supporting your devotees, so helping them. So in that way you come. So now you have come, please. He's just offering obeisances out of gratitude. He will ask what he wants in the next section. So he is saying, you are happily sleeping in the snake bed in the waters of devastation with all the universe stationed within your abdomen. So I am born from this lotus which is sprouting from your navel. So now at the end of the night of devastation, because this is he's waking up. He is not just being created for the first time, he is waking up. If we followed the last chapter, he was waking up from his night. So he's saying, now that at the end of the night of devastation, after finishing your sleep, when you open your eyes, which blooms like lotuses, so now everything springs into action. Now that you have woken up, I have been opened up, and now everything else is going to begin. So now that you have put me into action, I have some requests. Please help me with these requests. So you're saying, please empower me to create. You have just put me to task. You have just woken me up, but I don't know what to do. I'm feeling very bewildered, very confused. So please empower me to create. I feel it's a huge task because you are endowed with six opulences, and you're the friend and maintainer of all. So please empower me. I'm not as great as you. You need to give your empowerment to me. So give me the ability to create. For I am also one of your surrendered souls. I am also your devotee. I am taking your shelter. Please help me to create this universe. And he says, once I create this universe, which is a very difficult task, when you empower me and I do something amazing, when I do something wonderful, then I should not think this is by my own ability. This is my greatness. See what I have done. You are empowering me. Now I ask you for empowerment. But after you empower me, I do that, and I should not take credit for that. Please protect me from my false ego. So you are the benefactor of the surrendered souls. But when I create this universe, I may get materially affected by these material work or the passion, the work, and I may become bewildered by my false ego. So please protect me from false prestige of being the creator of the material universe. And he is also praying how he saved me from the deviation, or let me not deviate from the path of bhakti. Let me just keep up to serving you without any other motivation. In the course of manifesting all your diverse energies in the form of cosmic manifestation, may I not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. Let me not lose focus of hearing about you in the name of engaging in your service. So it's a very pertinent aspect for devotees. Uh, Wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we think, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Even in the mission of Krishna, even in the service of Krishna, we have so many desires and activities to do. So we think, oh, I'm anywhere serving Krishna. And in the name of that, we may neglect our sadhana in chanting and hearing about Krishna. Here, Brahmaji is very clearly praying that may I not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns while I'm engaged in the creation of the universe. So this is a very nice reminder that as devotees, whatever we may be doing, still the most important aspect of our lives as devotees is to hear about Krishna, chant Krishna's names. That is should never be compromised. So and then he chants this famous verse. This verse I'm going to chant is one of the verses that we chant early in the morning on the altar before waking up the lordships. So this is an ISKCON standard prayer that you chant before even entering the altar. You stand outside the altar and you pray. सोऽसवदभ्रकरुणो भगवान् विवृद्ध प्रेमस्मितेन नयनाम्बुरुहं विजृम्भ Uttaya Vishwavidayaya Chano Vishadam Madhya Girapanetat Purusha Purana. So may the Lord, who is supreme, the oldest, and unlimitedly merciful, smilingly bestow his benediction by opening his lotus eyes. When he opens his lotus eyes and looks at everyone, he can uplift the entire cosmic manifestation and dispel my sorrow by speaking his sweet directions. So he's saying, by your directions, all my sorrow would be dispelled. Please speak. So in this way, when Brahmaji actually prays, as far as his mind and words could permit him. So Brahma, after praying in this way for the 25 verses, becomes silent, as if like, in a sense, he's overwhelmed by all the penance, knowledge, and the meditation, and then finally Garbhodakshay Vishnu coming, and then he's feeling overwhelmed. So finally, he has spoken everything, and then he is silent. And having understood the intention of Brahmaji, who was very anxious about the creation and the depressed upon seeing the difficult situation of the living entities, especially the water of devastation and all these. So the Lord, with compassion, thoughtfully begins to speak. And when he speaks with his deep, compassionate, and thoughtful words, he removes the illusion of Brahmaji. So let's see what Brahma, Supreme Lord is going to say to Brahma, which removes the illusion or the anxiety of Lord Brahma. So we have covered the one section, which is the prayers of Brahmaji. I don't know what is the time. Oh, it's already 8:15. So quickly, I'll finish the rest of the prayers also. Here, it's not so much of a prayer; it is of simple instructions to Brahmaji. So, if anyone has any questions or comments, a quick question or a quick comment, we can take at this point.
So that invocation prayer, whatever you're praying before that, entering into, can you please share, Prabhu?
Yeah,
Like,
I'll put it in the chat, bro. It is the 25th verse of this chapter, 3.9.25. That's
okay.
what we use for waking up the deities. There are other couple of verses we use, but this is the main verse we use. I'm sharing my screen. I can copy that from my Windows. So after I finish this, I can copy and paste it in the chat also the verse. But the number is 3925. Mother Lajashila, yes, you want to ask something? Mother Lajashila, you want to?
No, I pressed that by mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So let's continue. It's also time. So here in these verses from 29 to 43, the Supreme Lord replies to Brahma. Mainly he says, follow the penance and the devotion to see everything in relation to me. And then he says, you have done this earlier also. This is not the first thing we're going to do. So don't be in anxiety. Do not be anxious because you have done this so many times. I have empowered you to do this earlier also. So don't be anxious. Just remember me always. Then you will be like safe. And then he also offers his mercy and his benedictions. And he also in the last three verses. So let's jump into the section straight. So Brahmaji is praying. So after that, uh, sorry, it's a wrong title. It's not Brahmaji's prayers, it is Supreme Lord's reply. So after Brahmaji prayed, now Supreme Lord is going to reply. Let's see what is he replying. In the verse 29, the Supreme Lord is saying, do not be anxious or depressed about the execution of the creating this universe. So what you're begging for or what you're asking for has already been granted in the past also. So in the past also you created because I empowered you. So you don't need to worry. I'm going to do that even this time. So you don't need to be anxious and in anxiety about the creation. And you you engage in the austerity of performing penances and be persevering in terms of your devotional service. In that way, you will receive my favor. By situating yourself in tapa and vidya, in knowledge and execution of austerities, you will always receive my favor, Madhashram, and thus you will understand me within your heart and everything regarding the position of the planets, everything will be revealed in your heart. Just be sincerely situating yourself in the penances and knowledge. And he says, Bhakti gives the transcendental vision for a devotee who is absorbed in it. So by complete absorption in devotional service, your creative activities, you will see me in you, in the universe, and all the living entities. So he's saying, don't get bewildered. Just even while creating, while doing your activities, you remember me, and if you will also see me when you are in that devotionally absorbed. You will see me in you, in the universe, and in all the living entities, and see yourself, the universe, and the law, all living entities in me. So both ways. That is Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. Here the Lord is teaching Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva to Brahmaji. He's saying, see me, see myself, my form, or see me as the Supreme Lord, see the Supreme Lord in you, in the universe, and in all the living entities. And he also says, see yourself, the universe, and the living entities in the Supreme Lord, in me. So only then you will be free from all illusion. He says that is why means we can be very very convinced of this philosophy that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. Here Garbhodaksha Vishnu is saying the same philosophy. He's saying not just union, not just difference. He's saying both Veda and Abeda, both like oneness and difference. Both should be seen. And anyone, when he says, when you see that like that, you will be free from all illusion. So in this way, he's instructing Brahmaji to see him in everything and everything in him. And then he is saying, giving up the bodily conception, you will achieve realization. So his Supreme Lord is saying, when Brahmaji, when you are free from the bodily conception and the influence of modes, then you will realize your own pure form and you will attain a relationship with me. So in that way, first thing is one has to give up the bodily identification and absorb in devotional service. Gradually, everything related to one's own form and their relationship with the Supreme Lord will be revealed gradually. So now, the Lord is sorry for this title on the top. It's not Brahmaji's prayer, it is Lord's mercy and benediction. I think while making the slides, I forgot to change them. So from verses 34 to 40, the Supreme Lord is going to give his mercy in terms of assurance and benedictions. He's saying, since you desire to serve by expanding the universe or the population, my mercy also will increase upon you. As you are serving more and more, my mercy on you also will increase. And I bless that the Rajoguna will not bind you. Since your mind is fixed on me, the vicious mode of passion will not bind you, although you are engaged in creation. So he is giving assurance. And he's saying, because you are engaged in this service and you have already understood my personality by my mercy, because of that, my form is not anything material, it is spiritual. Because you have understood my form as transcendental, you actually understand me. And I manifested within you and inspired you when you were going inside the lotus stem to find which is the source of your creation. So you were trying to find by your own strength, and I appeared in your heart and inspired you from within to meditate. So that is when you meditated, and now because of that effect, now you have seen me. You have understood my transcendental form. So now your prayers, penances, and firm faith in me are by my causeless mercy. So I'm completely pleased with you because you followed my instructions in the heart. I'm very pleased by your prayers. And now he also gives a falashruti. All desires will be fulfilled for one who prays like this. So he says, it is not just you will achieve all your desires because of your prayers and sincere following of my instructions. Anyone who prays like this will also have all their desires fulfilled. So in this way, he gives the falashruti for the chapter. And then he also glorifies how I am the dearmost of all, and I am the one to be satisfied. He's giving an instruction to Brahmaji. The ultimate goal is to involve my satisfaction or to invoke my satisfaction. I think I typed wrongly. It is invoke my satisfaction. So the ultimate goal of doing all the activities, he is specifically telling to Brahmaji, your creation of the universe is ultimately to satisfy me. And what is the satisfaction of Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, when he sees that Brahmaji is facilitating the journey back home of various conditioned living entities? That is what is satisfying him. He is saying, okay, again, a second chance has been given for conditioned living entities to go back to home, to come back to me. So that's what he's pleasing. And he's saying, I am the ultimate dearest object in this world, in all your services, in all your activities, in all your engagements. The only the ultimate dearest object is me. So since I am the super soul, the supreme director, and the dearest of all objects, I am also dear, become dear to people. But in reality, they should only be attached to me. He's saying you may engage in so many things in this world, but ultimately your attachment should be to me. Aham atmanatmanam dhatah preshta san preyasamati atomai pratim kuryad dehadir yatrute priyah. Preshtaha san preyasam. Among all dearest objects, I am the most dearest object of a conditioned soul. And he's explaining how by following the instructions that Brahmaji has been given by the Supreme Lord, he can create the living entities as before, and by the body composed of the Vedic wisdom, he will also know all the Vedic knowledge. And in this way, after instructing Brahmaji, the Supreme Lord disappeared from his vision. So now Brahma, after praying, he has finally heard from the Lord, replying him, assuring him, don't be in anxiety. Just see me in everything and everything in me. In that way, you will never be deviated. And understand that ultimately, I am the goal. My satisfaction is the ultimate goal. I am the most dearest object for everyone. So just follow my instructions. You will be able to do your service of creating this universe easily. And by saying, after saying this, he disappears from the vision of Brahmaji. So that is where we end this particular chapter. I'm glad I'm not too much over time. I'm 13 minutes over time. So Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, entire So if anyone has any comments or questions, you can feel free to share now. Others who have things to catch up can feel free to move on.
Prabhuji, I have one question. So,
Hare Krishna, Ritesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, is this the same conversation where Lord Vishnu speaks about Purushottam Kshetra to Brahmaji? Because in Jagannath Katha, I have heard that when Brahmaji was creating, he felt very compassionate for the living entities, and he asked, is there no place in this entire creation where they will get some sort of peace or some good thing? So then Lord Vishnu said that there's this Purushottam Kshetra. So is this the same conversation?
Okay. You're asking in the Sthala Purana of Jagannath Puri in the Dhamma Mahatmya, we hear how when Brahmaji is creating, he has this question to Lord Vishnu, and Jagannath Puri's glories are revealed there. So is
Yes.
that the second part of this prayers or the discussion that we saw?
Yes, Prabhu, that's my question.
So what I would like to add is it could be because there are various days of Brahma and he may ask different questions every time. So the template is basically he's praying for his the benediction, and he's denote or he is understanding the importance of devotional service for the benefit of the conditioned souls. So Dhamma Mahatmya and Puranas can give more details. It could be another discussion also. So it is possible, but I can say yes, this is the same conversation, but it is possible.
All right, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu.
Roshan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Manoj. My question is, when Lord Brahma saw that the creation is going to give the living entities a lot of trouble, doesn't Lord Brahma also have a choice in the way he is creating? Or is he forced to create it in a certain way that it is only going to give trouble to the living entities?
So your question is when Brahmaji is understanding that the creation, the way he is going to do is going to be troublesome for the living entities, he has a choice not to create like that. So he could have just changed this type of his creation so that the living entities won't suffer. That is your question, right? Why he's not doing like
Yes,
that?
yes. Is he just following a template given by
Template.
Navodiksha Vishnu?
In one sense, yes, he is also following a template. However, uh, here the aspect of consciousness is given more importance, because he is saying the misidentification with the body is what is causing the difficulty. So the solution is, if they are not going to identify with their bodies as the enjoyers of this world, then even in this world, in spite of those tribulations, they will still remain happy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is in one sense the creation of jail. So means the creation of, you can say the jail also can have all the facilities like how you have in the open city, but still the government has some kind of facilities only within a jail, because the purpose is not a happy living in that place, because the whole situation itself is artificial. So it is a reformational place, so it's created in a certain way, I would say also. Plus, the benefit of devotional service is there by which a person can rise above those.
Sorry, can you just elaborate on the last point?
At the same time, it is not just somebody is thrown here and they have no other choice.
Mm-hmm.
They have a choice of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord and performing devotional service, and can remain aloof to all those conditions of misery, even while living here, and surely can be going back. So the opportunity to perform devotional service is surely given.
Right.
And to some extent, yeah, many people take this conversation ahead and say, oh, then the God is actually forcing you to take to this solution.
Suffering. Yeah.
But the idea is, like, say, if a finger wants to eat, it is never in that constitutional position. We are, by constitutional, we are marginal energy. So we are never going to be God. So for our own good, it is better to understand and accept and be situated in that position of the taking shelter of the Supreme Lord as a marginal energy. So we don't have a choice but to be obedient to God. That is how we are created. That's the eternal, that is how you and me are dharma. The nature of the soul is to be obedient to God under his protection. So there is no, you can say, why is fire hot, like so hot, like it burns? That is, then otherwise there is no, it's not fire. The sugar is supposed to be sweet. So similarly, the nature of the dharma of the soul is to serve. Then as long as the living entity does not accept that, then it has to accept a material condition which is miserable, so that it can stay in its original nature.
Thank you. That clarifies it.
Thank you all, Prabhu. Thank you for joining today's class and continuously encouraging me to study and share. It's been very helpful personally also, to meditate on, to kind of trying to read and understand. So I hope I can increase my sincerity in doing that, so that it
Prabhu, I just Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Oh, I guess you're trying to leave, but I just needed to clarify this last answer. You know, when you were saying that in the jail, you know, there's some sources of misery. It sounded like saying that there's some sources of misery that exist irrespective of one's consciousness. So I'm not sure, you know, I'm not clear on that, because my understanding is that the single reason for our unhappiness is our consciousness. You know, for people who are pure in their consciousness, this place is as good as Vaikuntha. So I'm not clear on that part of your answer.
Yes, like you're saying, when I said there is misery here, but once consciousness is pure, they can stay aloof from it. That's what I said. So you're saying the lack
Oh,
of that
no, but
consciousness.
no. There was one part where you said, even in the jail, though, even though it's a matter of our consciousness, but even you were comparing the conditions in the jail to outside, and so for that reason, it sounded like you were saying that yes, there are, even if you are a free person, there are conditions that make one's existence miserable. Maybe I misunderstood you. I don't know.
So I can clarify what I said. I said like how in the jail, it's not going to have the same facilities as what we have in an open city.
Yeah.
Similarly, the spiritual world is full of happiness. It has none of these miserable conditions. But the material world is not going to be like that.
But my point is that the only thing that makes the conditions miserable is our consciousness, is because we're approaching those conditions with enjoying spirit.
Yes.
So I feel like it's not about the conditions at all. It's about the consciousness.
I would say both, because Brahmaji is clearly saying here, Kshutrit, Trida, Tubir, all these kind of various conditions are existing. But with devotional service, you may transcend. But even a transcendent living being will experience them, but it will not affect them. Like how we say misery uh, is there, but suffering is optional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So basically, it comes back down to whether you suffer or not is your consciousness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Misery is there in the material world. There is no doubt about it.
But that's because of the consciousness. That's because of the consciousness only.
Consciousness, but otherwise also in the creation there is misery also, in the sense of course consciousness decides everything, but the design has misery in it, so that we don't have any choice other than having a proper consciousness. It forces us to.
Okay, I think what would be helpful is to define what we mean by this misery. By misery, maybe you mean that there are things in this world, that go against sense gratification.
Birth, death, old age, and disease exist in this world. There is no doubt about it.
Yes.
In that way, this place has misery.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.